Okay, thank you. We are now broadcasting. Thank you very much. Welcome everybody to Executive Board this evening. First item on the agenda is apologies for absence. We have no apologies, thank you. Item number 2, disclosable pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests. I don't see anybody hands raised, so we'll move on. Item number 3, public participation. Do we have any questions, Chief Exec? Nope.
No questions, Chair.
Okay. Item number 4 is the minutes of the board held on the 15th of February. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Simmons, and seconded Councillor Simpson. Thank you. All those in favour? We don't need to vote on that, do we, Chief Exec?
Unless anybody calls for a vote, I think we're okay with the minutes, if that's okay.
Thank you. Bear with me, I'll just sign those. Okay, item number 5, the external auditors report. Council's external auditors, Ernst & Young, have summarised the work they undertook relating to the 2018-19 financial year in an annual audit letter. The letter also sets out the proposed fee, which has been submitted to public sector audit appointments for consideration. Do I have any questions, comments? I don't see anybody's hand, so I'll move that from the chair, seconded by Councillor Riley. Thank you. All those in favour? Do we need to take the roll call?
Yes, please. So
Chief
Councillor
Exec.
Bell.
For.
Councillor Deakin. Councillor Deakin.
Sorry, Councillor Deakin has just messaged me his apologies. He's not going to be able to make it. He's been held up.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Goslin. Councillor Goslin.
For.
Thank you. Councillor David Humphreys.
For.
Councillor Riley.
For.
Councillor Rose.
For.
Councillor Simpson.
For.
Councillor Simmons.
For.
And Councillor David Wright.
For.
That's carried, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Exec. Item number 6 is the earmark reserves 2020-2021. This report would have normally have been considered at the same time as the 1920 financial statements, but unfortunately was missed when the statements were considered in February, so it's being provided now for completeness. Councillor Gosling, do you have...
Just a quick query, really. It would be useful when producing the earmarked reserves if we had some idea what they were earmarked for and when they were earmarked to be spent, so that we can kind of be clear about when the funds, what they're doing there and why they've been kept. And it would be useful if we had some kind of timeline.
Okay, the report does actually say what the earmarked reserves are for, and
But doesn't give a timeline as to when we would expect to see them being used.
well, a lot, as the report says, a lot of the earmarked reserves are third-party monies that we've received, and quite often there is no time frame for spending those. But I'll take your comments on board, Councillor Gosling. Okay. Anything else? I don't see anybody else indicating, so again, I'll move that from the chair. Seconded by Councillor Simpson. Thank you. Chief Exec, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Bell.
For.
Councillor Gosling.
For.
Councillor David Humphreys.
For.
Councillor Riley.
For.
Councillor Rose.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Simpson.
For.
Councillor Simmons.
For.
And Councillor David Wright.
For.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Excuse me. Item number 7 is the corporate plan 2021 to 22. Corporate plan is updated on an annual basis. The purpose of this report is to recommend that the council adopts the corporate plan appended to the report. Members have previously raised that the existing performance reports do not always provide all of the information they would like, nor is it presented in the most accessible way. A member working group was established to consider the issue further, and the idea of a more focused, concise and output-based plan was a key recommendation. The draft plan set out in the papers aims to do that, with the recommendation that the Chief Exec be given delegated authority to finalise the format, and that a member group continues to meet to finalise what further performance information is required. The plan itself follows on from the strategic direction agreed last year as the first plan of this council term, and we continue to work towards a number of important outcomes to improve life for the residents of the borough. Clearly, the 2021-22 revision is highly impacted by the COVID outbreak and the significant financial pressures we face as a council. Councillor Gosling.
Thank you. Yeah, we welcome this and the continued work on this, and look forward to the working party making it even better and even stronger. We would also like to raise the issue of the climate change emergency and its lack of representation in this document at the moment, and would like to comment that we feel strongly it could be included in the future.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Chief Exec.
Yes, I'm happy to take that forward when we finalise the document. We can add that in. Just to say that I think there is reference to the fact that there are two separate cross-cutting themes or documents, as well as the corporate plan. One is the COVID recovery plan, and the other is climate change. But we can perhaps through that group look at some wording to draw the climate change item out if that needs to be done a bit more clearly.
Councillor Chambers.
Well, thank you, Chairman, for giving me permission to speak, although I'm not a member of the Exec Board. I would like to say something about this process, because when I was first elected in 2015, there was quite a lot of effort put into revising the framework by the new administration, and quite a lot of cross-party work, certainly with myself and Councillor Bell on the health objectives that were part of the corporate plan. I just feel that given the COVID recovery and the impact of the pandemic, and the fact that in 2019 in October we declared a climate emergency for this borough, I wonder whether the time has come to both reset the vision that we have, which absolutely makes no reference to any of those kind of big issues in its statement. It's about protecting the rurality of the borough, etc., etc. It hasn't really changed, and I think my own view, and I hope I will be part of whatever working group is set up to take this forward. That depends on how things are moved forward by the Chief Executive. I just think there's a time to have a real review and refresh of this corporate plan, so that it isn't just a roll forward, but it actually does take account of the significant impact and urgency of the various crises that we face. And I'm not sure that in terms of, is it Broxtowe, very much like the presentation that's there, and the kind of fact that it was based on what local people said they wanted and valued from the local council, which I'm not sure we've done recently in terms of refreshing our corporate plan. But at least in that plan, they did actually give a commitment to 10% reduction in carbon emissions, and we've got no real specific or concrete commitments at all coming through. And whilst I see there's one sentence about a cross-cutting strategy for COVID recovery and climate change, that doesn't really help determine or reshape what we've got in front of us. And I think the time has come for not just a roll forward, but a complete refresh and review of the next 2 years that we are going to serve as councillors and as a borough council.
Well, thank you for your comments, Councillor Chambers, but I have to say, well, I'll refer you to the comments the Chief Exec made some moments ago, and also refer you to page 49 of 61, where it does say, in addition, the Council will adopt 2 cross-cutting strategies, our COVID-19 recovery plan and the climate change strategy. Now, incorporated in those 2 strategies are all the very things that you have just mentioned. So I'm not quite sure how doing what you have just described is going to achieve what you have described, because we're already doing it. Shall we let's move on. Any other comments, queries? Okay, then I shall move that from the chair, seconded by Councillor Simmons. Do we need to take the roll call? We take the roll call, Chief Exec. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Bell.
4.
Councillor Goslin.
4.
Councillor David Humphreys.
4.
Councillor Riley.
4.
Councillor Rose.
4.
Councillor Simpson.
4.
Councillor Simmons.
4.
And Councillor David Wright.
4.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chief Exec. That is carried. Item number 8 is the minutes of the Safe Communities Subcommittee held on the 16th of March 21 to be received and noted. Councillor Riley, did you want to say anything?
No, Chair, just to thank all councillors who attended. It was again a useful and informative meeting with some good cross-party interventions. Obviously, Chair, all the decisions are contained within the recommendations from the report, and I recommend it to members of the board.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Councillor Gosling.
Just to raise again my concerns around the Road Safety Partnership and its effectiveness. I think we have started to see some more responses in the North of Warwickshire, but I still don't think that these are quite where we would like them to be to tackle the terrible statistics for KSIs on our roads at the moment.
No, thank you, Councillor.
Chair, would you like to come back to that?
More than welcome, Councillor Riley.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I wholly support Councillor Gosling's comments. Too many people are being killed and seriously injured on the roads in North Warwickshire, and I have every confidence in Representative Robert Beggs and his engagement with the tactical partnership. He is delivering results, I'm pleased to say, but there is clearly much more work to be done.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Okay, so it's been moved by Councillor Riley, seconded by myself. We don't need a roll call, so I'll take that as carried unless anybody either calls for a vote or objects. And I don't see anybody indicating. Thank you very much. That's carried. Item number 9 is the exclusion of the public and press. To consider whether, in accordance with section 100A brackets 4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public and press be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business, on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined by Schedule 12A to the Act.
Move the recommendation, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson, seconded by Councillor Humphreys. We have to take the roll call for that. Chief Exec, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Bell.
4.
Councillor Goslin.
4.
Councillor David Humphreys.
4.
Councillor Riley.
4.
Councillor Rose.
4.
Councillor Simpson.
4.
Councillor Simmons.
4.
And Councillor David Wright.
4.
That's carried, Chair. If you just bear with us while we exit.
Thank you. I'm just
That's right. Just
Ray, the
I
microphone.
can hear that.
Ray, the microphone on your headphones rubs against the chain. It was happening last time when we did full council, so you'll either need to reposition it or mute it.
Okay. Council meeting the 29th of March at 7 p.m. Before we go into the meeting, this is the first full council meeting since the sad passing of our fellow councillor Dawn Downs. Dawn was a much respected councillor and person by both sides of this chamber, and I ask all people present to bow their heads for a minute's silence to reflect on Dawn's life. Thank you, everybody. I think it's one of the saddest things that we ever have to do is to mourn anyone, and obviously Dawn was well respected by everyone. Right, thank you. We'll go into the agenda, and we'll start with agenda item 1. Apologies for absence, Mr. Maxey.
Apologies. Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've had apologies from Councillor Deakin.
Okay, thank you. Declarations of personal or prejudicial interest. No, thank you. The Mayor to move in accordance with Standing Order 6(1) that the minutes of the meeting on the Council held on the 24th of February 2021 to be approved as a correct record. Can we have a proposer and a seconder, please? Proposed by Councillor Moss, seconded by...
I'll second that, Chair.
Oh, Councillor Wright. Have a vote for that? No. Okay. Provided there's no nothing to the contrary, we'll take that as approved. Item 4, to receive the Mayor's announcements. I'm afraid at the moment there are none. The only thing that we've done since the last meeting, obviously, is attend the funeral of Councillor Downs when that passed. Item 5, to answer questions from members of the public pursuant to Standing Order number 7. Mr. Maxey?
There have been no questions, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, no questions. We'll move on to agenda item 6, which is to receive and consider the minutes of firstly the special subgroup.
Thank you, Mr.
Councillor
Mayor.
Clues.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could I move that the minutes of the special subgroup held on the 16th of February and the 9th of March be received?
Thank you. Proposed by Councillor Smith, seconded by. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. P125. Sorry. P124. P125. And Councillor Gosling.
It's fine. It was relating to 124.
Oh, sorry, go on, continue.
That's fine. Thank you very much. It was just to clarify what impact we were expecting the additional 12 hours to have. Obviously, the job details are laid out, but actually with the cuts in borough care and other things, if we understood clearly what impact we were expecting the warden service to have.
Chairman, if I may, Mr. Mayor, if I may, we can do you a note on that. I don't think there's a necessarily a automatic link between the neighbourhood warden service and borough care, but we can do you a note as to what it is aimed to achieve in those 12 hours.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. P126.
Chair, could I?
That is Councillor
Parsons, sorry, Chair.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Parsons.
It's yes, the staffing structure. Again, it's really a query in the sense that we understand that the matter of the front office is to be changed. The front office is to be changed, and the staffing structure is to go through. But we don't understand quite how the front office is going to be replaced, and in what form this is going to occur, and how the services offered in the front office are going to be made available to the public in the Atherstone area in North Warwickshire. For example, if you go in the front office, well, when you could go into the front office, there was a telephone there where you could get direct access to the police and make an appointment to see the police. And it's this sort of provision that we don't see, and we'd like to see how, in a sense, the staffing structure is going to contribute to this, and how the whole plan is going to come out in concrete terms to provide the services which have previously been provided in the front office. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'll turn to Mr. Maxey.
With your permission, Mr. Mayor, I think given the nature that where it's been written, unfortunately, this isn't about the reception service. This item, this was a different restructure, but I appreciate it's a little bit unclear because of the confidential way in which that note has been done. So this item isn't about the reception, but we can certainly do you a note as work progresses about what the plans are for the revised reception area.
Councillor Parsons, are you happy at that?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. It's been proposed and seconded for acceptance of these minutes. I'll pass to Mr. Maxey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Go ahead, Councillor Close.
And to be adopted, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Bell.
4.
Councillor Chambers.
4.
Councillor Denise Clues.
4.
Councillor Tony Clues.
4.
Councillor Davey.
4.
Councillor Dervix.
4.
Councillor Farrow.
4.
Councillor Gosling.
4.
Councillor Hayfield.
4.
Councillor David Humphreys.
4.
Councillor Marion Humphreys.
4.
Councillor Jarvis.
4.
Councillor Jens.
4.
Councillor Lees.
4.
Councillor MacDonald.
4.
Councillor McLaughlin.
4.
Councillor Mawson.
4.
Councillor Moss.
4.
Councillor Osborne,
4.
Councillor Parker,
4.
Councillor Parsons,
4.
Councillor Hayden Phillips,
4.
Councillor Owen Phillips,
4.
Councillor Riley,
4.
Councillor Rose,
4.
Councillor Simpson,
4.
Councillor Singh,
4.
Councillor Smith, Councillor Smith,
Councillor Spicky Mooty.
thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Simmons,
4.
Councillor Andy Wright,
4.
Councillor David Wright.
4.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask Councillor Simpson to present the Planning and Development Board of the 16th of February and the 8th of March.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move that the minutes of the meetings of Planning and Development Board held on the 16th February and 8th March now be received.
Proposed by Councillor Simpson, seconded by Councillor Lees. Okay, P127, P128, P129, P130, P131 and P132.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to now propose that the minutes of the meetings of Planning and Development Board held on the 16th February and 8th March now be adopted.
Thank you. Mr. Maxey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Bell,
4.
Councillor Chambers,
4.
Councillor Denise Clues,
4.
Councillor Tony Clues,
4.
Councillor Davey,
4.
Councillor Dervix,
4.
Councillor Farrow,
4.
Councillor Gosling,
4.
Councillor Hayfield,
4.
Councillor David Humphreys,
4.
Councillor Marion Humphreys,
4.
Councillor Jarvis,
4.
Councillor Jens,
4.
Councillor Lees,
4.
Councillor MacDonald,
4.
Councillor McLaughlin,
4.
Councillor Mawson,
4.
Councillor Moss,
4.
Councillor Osborne,
4.
Councillor Parker,
4.
Councillor Parsons,
4.
Councillor Hayden Phillips,
4.
Councillor Owen Phillips,
4.
Councillor Riley,
4.
Councillor Rose,
4.
Councillor Simpson,
4.
Councillor Singh,
4.
Councillor Smith,
4.
Councillor Simmons,
4.
Councillor Andy Wright,
4.
and Councillor David Wright.
4.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillors. Move on to item 6C, the Community Environment Board on the 15th of March, and I'll ask Councillor Bell to present.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I propose that the minutes of the Community Environment Board 15th of March 2021 be received.
Seconded by Councillor Smith. Sorry?
Marion Humphreys.
Okay, thanks, Marion. Okay, P133. Councillor Chambers.
Sorry, Chair, Mr. Mayor, I'm ahead of myself. I was wanting to raise something on P134.
Okay, 134.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The meeting of the Community and Environment Board considered the financial support through its small grant scheme, which has been running for a long time, and that includes things like Live and Local, Citizens Advice Bureau, Carver, and so on. And I was rather concerned that a new scheme for which we'd had no applications previously, there were 2 paragraphs of information about this scheme, and it attracted £4,000 worth of new investment through this scheme. I'm just wondering whether Councillor Bell and the officers are intending to get some kind of service level agreement and key performance indicators as we have for the other grants, and things like return on investment, income generation, value for money, all of those things we were lacking at the time of this consideration. And it did strike me that in terms of our obligations to our taxpayer and governance, that we need rather more effective scrutiny of the way in which this now quite considerable grant, which is much bigger than Live and Local, is going to be spent in the future. Thank you, Mr.
Councillor
Mayor.
Chambers. I'll ask Councillor Bell to respond on that, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Yes, yes, it is a new addition to the list of things that we support. You'll notice, though, that at each time when we consider this, the performance of the previous year is given in detail. And obviously, we didn't have a performance for this one because we didn't give them any money last year. Certainly, if it comes before us again, there will be a detailed report on the performance of the first responders that we can consider. So that's how it works. Thank you.
Councillor Chambers.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So is that confirmation that there will be some formal service level agreement for this money with key performance indicators identified when this grant is passed across?
Yes, indeed. In fact, the performance indicators for the other allocations, particularly the larger ones, I think it said in the papers that they were yet to be done, and there will be a performance management report for this allocation as well.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to P135. Councillor Gosling.
Just again to note on item 32, the climate change, of the urgency of this work, especially considering the extent of the building work in the local plan, to ensure that those things are as future-proof as possible regarding our carbon ambition.
Councillor Bell.
Yes, the climate change group continues to meet, and they have got their objectives set out, and it is being pursued with the same urgency. Yes.
Thank you. Happy, Councillor Gosling?
Perfectly, thank you.
Is that a legacy hand, Councillor Chambers, or a new
no,
one?
Chair, no, it's permission to speak, Mr. Mayor, on this particular item. Yes. It seems to me that the urgency of doing this climate work, particularly given the earlier discussion about where our strategy is and how that is going to be integrated to our corporate plan for the next 2 years, I'm not clear how this time frame for taking this forward is going to operate. Clearly, when this paper came to the Community and Environment Board, it became clear that no resources have been identified in terms of staff time, and that each division is expected to incorporate this as part of their busy working arrangements and progression of their own divisional objectives. So at some point, the work of the climate change group and the corporate plan and the absorption and delivery against whatever initiatives and commitments we're going to give. I'm not clear myself, and I'm not sure any other councillors are, what time frame we're actually working to, or indeed whether we'll hit the November International Climate Conference and be able to claim that we've done anything by that time. Sorry to be so sceptical, but it was 2019 when we declared it an emergency, and I know there's been a pandemic, but we do need to kind of put the accelerator on if we're going to be able to demonstrate some real commitment to this.
Councillor Bell.
Before we go back to Councillor Bell, Councillor Parsons.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Councillor Parsons. Is it on this? Is it on this item?
Just to actually go on from what Councillor Chambers has actually said. I mean, one of the things that would seem to be fairly immediate is an assessment of the council's vehicle fleet, and in terms of looking to a replacement policy and a review of where we can actually replace vehicles with electric vehicles, where that's practical, where the mileage involved would allow for that to happen, and to have a pretty clear statement of where we're going, particularly in this this policy. vehicle emissions are our biggest contributor to our carbon levels at the moment. And I just wonder if we have a policy with regard to our vehicle fleet. It seems to me that we haven't, but perhaps I'm wrong. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to come back on that, Councillor Bell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I repeat, we've got a working group working on this. There will be an action plan that will come forward when it is agreed, and we've got timescales for it. I can tell you that the vehicle fleet is quite prominent in this action plan, and it's one of the key things that we are considering. And as for officer allocation, Mr. Dobbs is leading this with the group, and of course his time is allocated. And again, the action plan will be explicit on timescales and resource that's required.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. We'll move on to P136. Thank you. Councillor Simpson.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Mayor, yes.
Councillor,
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor Bell.
may I move that the minutes of the Community and Environment Board, the 15th of March, be adopted?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Maxey.
Thank you. Councillor Bell.
4.
Councillor Chambers.
4.
Councillor Denise Clues.
4.
Councillor Tony Clues.
4.
Councillor Davey.
4.
Councillor Dervix.
4.
Councillor Farrow.
4.
Councillor Goslin.
4.
Councillor Hayfield.
4.
Councillor David Humphreys.
4.
Councillor Marion Humphreys.
4.
Councillor Jarvis.
4.
Councillor Jens.
4.
Councillor Lees.
4.
Councillor MacDonald.
4.
Councillor McLaughlin.
4.
Councillor Mawson.
4.
Councillor Moss.
4.
Councillor Osborne.
4.
Councillor Parker.
4.
Councillor Parsons.
4.
Councillor Hayden Phillips.
4.
Councillor Owen Phillips.
4.
Councillor Riley.
4.
Councillor Rose.
4.
Councillor Simpson.
4.
Councillor Singh.
4.
Councillor Smith.
4.
Councillor Simmons.
4.
Councillor Andy Wright.
4.
Councillor David Wright.
4.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We move on to item 6D, the Executive Board meeting, which the minutes will be circulated forthwith.
Yes, hopefully members can see that on the screen now.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody clear with the minutes?
Yep.
Okay. Just give 2 minutes for people to read through them. Okay. Okay. If everybody's looked at the minutes, we'll ask Councillor Wright to present them.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the minutes of the Executive Board held a little earlier this evening be accepted.
We'll just take, there's 3 pages to it. The first page. Oh, sorry, seconded by. Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, page 1. Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to compliment the Chief Executive on the speed of his delivery of the minutes.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, thank you, Councillor Simpson. Obviously, there's a whole team behind that, but thank you very much.
Okay, page 2. And finally, page 3. It's been moved and seconded. I'll ask Mr. Maxey to take the vote.
Thank you. Councillor Bell,
4.
Councillor Chambers,
4.
Councillor Denise Clues,
4.
Councillor Tony Clues,
4.
Councillor Davey,
4.
Councillor Dervix,
4.
Councillor Farrow,
4.
Councillor Gosling,
4.
Councillor Hayfield,
4.
Councillor David Humphreys,
4.
Councillor Marion Humphreys,
4.
Councillor Jarvis,
4.
Councillor Jens,
4.
Councillor Lees,
4.
Councillor MacDonald,
4.
Councillor McLaughlin,
4.
Councillor Mawson,
4.
thank you, Councillor Moss,
4.
Councillor Osborne,
4.
Councillor Parker,
4.
Councillor Parsons,
4.
Councillor Hayden Phillips,
4.
Councillor Owen Phillips,
4.
Councillor Riley,
4.
Councillor Rose,
4.
Councillor Simpson,
4.
Councillor Singh,
4.
Councillor Smith,
4.
Councillor Simmons,
4.
Councillor Andy Wright,
4.
and Councillor David Wright.
4.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Maxey. Item 7 is exclusion of the public and press. And the recommendation is that under section 100A brackets 4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public and press be excluded from the meeting for the following item of business on the grounds that it involves the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined by Schedule 12A to the Act. Mr. Maxey, if you could take the roll.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Bell,
4.
Councillor Chambers,
4.
Councillor Denise Clues,
4.
Councillor Tony Clues,
4.
Councillor Davey,
4.
Councillor Dervix,
4.
Councillor Farrow,
4.
Councillor Gosling,
4.
Councillor Hayfield,
4.
Councillor David Humphreys,
4.
Councillor Marion Humphreys,
4.
Councillor Jarvis,
4.
Councillor Jens,
4.
Councillor Lees,
4.
Councillor MacDonald,
4.
Councillor McLaughlin,
4.
Councillor Mawson,
4.
Councillor Moss,
4.
Councillor Osborne,
4.
Councillor Parker,
4.
Councillor Parsons,
4.
Councillor Hayden Phillips,
4.
Councillor Owen Phillips,
4.
Councillor Riley,
4.
Councillor Rose,
4.
Councillor Simpson,
4.
Councillor Singh,
4.
Councillor Smith,
4.
Councillor Simmons,
4.
Councillor Andy Wright,
4.
Councillor David Wright.
4.